Well, hey there. Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, we've had some subtle hints of what's to come weather-wise. Nothing yet that's taken hold, but when it does, you'll be glad you heeded the advice we get this week from Simcoe County's Manager of Emergency Planning. Foster care, the need is great locally and across the province, and while there are challenges, the rewards can be huge. Barrie Colts coming off a big weekend, hoping for another big one this weekend. The Everest Funeral Concierge Canadian Curling Club Championships take place next week at the Barrie Curling Club. We get a preview with former Canadian and world champion Glenn Howard, and we chat with the Provincial Minister of Labour about an Oro-Medonte training facility for crane operators. We get the conversation started after this. It is coming, you know it is, winter with its cold and snow and the potential for lingering power outages and icy roads. Will you be ready for it all? Ready for any cold weather emergencies that come up? We welcome Simcoe County's Manager of Emergency Planning, Grant Durfey, to What Barrie's Talking About. What's the best piece of advice, Grant, you can give us as we head into the winter season?
The biggest thing is try to be prepared ahead of time. I know it's gorgeous weather right now. We're not really thinking of snow and ice and all that, but it is coming. We know it will happen, even if it's coming a bit later than normal. So making sure you're prepared. Once that snow and the ice starts, it's too late to get anything ready. So being aware of the weather, being aware of the alerts, and having everything you need ahead of time is absolutely key.
And what's everything we need? How do we need to get prepared? What needs to be in that gunny sack we have to put together?
Oh, very good question. So we always recommend that people have enough supplies in their house to be ready for 72 hours. That's everything from food and water, medications, could be supplies for your pets. But also in the winter, we want to look at what do you have in your vehicle as well. So if you get stuck in your car somewhere, do you have extra warm clothes? Do you have some extra food or water there as well? That way you can ride out those storms should you be caught out when one hits.
So what do we need to have in the car?
So in the car, we want to look for keep something warm. We always see people who in the middle of winter in their t-shirt and shorts, they hop in the car for a quick drive to the store and end up getting stuck somewhere in cold weather. So even if just a quick drive, extra blankets, extra warm clothes in your cars are always something you should do. Something to produce light, so a flashlight, some extra batteries. A big one for your car isn't something extra to have, but it's to watch out for, and that's your fuel level. Always try to have at least half a tank in your car when you go out in the winter. So if you do get stuck, you can keep that car running as long as your tailpipe isn't blocked to keep yourself warm until someone's able to get there and get you out.
There has always been concern about carbon monoxide leaching back into the car. So if you've got the car running to keep warm for an extended period, what kind of precautions do you need to take?
No, absolutely. And that's a big concern as well. So making sure that tailpipe is clear is absolutely key. So we have to be wary if your car slides off the road and ends up in a ditch, for example, be aware where is that tailpipe? Is it blocked underwater or blocked up with snow? Because you're right, that could cause carbon monoxide to build up in the vehicle and then cause a bigger issue down the road. So making sure that's clear when you're running the car is absolutely essential.
Should you be cranking the windows open a little bit just to get some flow of air?
Yeah, if you notice it's getting stuffy inside, if you notice you're sort of getting tired, yes, open up the windows. It's a bit hard because when you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, you don't have too many options to take, but getting some airflow in there just a little bit so you still stay warm, but can keep fresh air is essential as well. And then in addition to that, making sure you have something to keep your phone charged so you can call for help. So if it dies in the vehicle, having extra charging cable, extra battery for it, so you can get that help to come to you.
And again, just back with carbon monoxide, the danger there is you can't smell it. You don't know it's affecting you until it has, and then by then it's too late.
Yeah, it's odorless, it's colorless, you don't know, you'll just start feeling sleepy, and that's when carbon monoxide is affecting you. We see that a lot with generators as well. People who like to run their generators in their garage don't realize that carbon monoxide's building up in their garage, and in a previous life, when I was a paramedic, I've had to go and pull people out of garages because they've had generators running there. So just like your car, making sure your generator exhaust is clear, pointed away from the house, at least a couple meters away from the house as well. That way you're not getting carbon monoxide seeping into your living area either.
And we've heard in the past people using their barbecues for heat, putting them into the garage or even into the house. Don't do that.
No, don't do that. They do not burn nearly as cleanly. I know some people say, I have a gas stove. Why can't I run my barbecue? They are very different appliances. Generally speaking, they're using different fuel sources. Those are not safe, and they're not efficient ways to get heat either. That barbecue isn't meant to disperse heat in your house, so it's not going to be efficient in warming anyone up.
Question we often get when the power goes out for 3 or 4 days on end. How long are things going to last in the refrigerator? Should you put them into the freezer? When do you get rid of them?
Yeah, I know sometimes we joke power outages in the winter. We have our Mother Nature's refrigerator outdoors. Doesn't always work and doesn't always keep consistent temperatures. Some people think I'll put it outside. It might be cold overnight, but in the sun during the day, it might end up getting quite warm. So with refrigerators, generally speaking, if it's kept shut, you don't open it unless you absolutely have to, and it's filled with already cool materials, it will last you a fair number of hours to a day to keep that stuff cold. It will vary by make or model. Same thing with your freezers. That can last you quite a while. The key is don't open it unless you absolutely need to. And in the event of a multi-day power outage, we'll be working with public health and the local municipalities to put out guidance to help remind people, here's what you should be looking for. And if you need to dispose stuff, here's how we'll help you create that disposal pathway.
All right, you mentioned 72 hours. Be prepared for that. What kind of things do we need to have in that kit at home, or if we have to get out of the house for 72 hours or longer?
Absolutely. So there's going to be some commonalities. We make sure we want clothes, medications, food, water. We always say throw in a deck of cards, or if you have kids, put in a game or something they like to keep them entertained. And then there's going to be some specifics. So making sure you have medication, especially if you have to leave the house. And if you can't bring it with you, at least know what your medication is, the dose, how regular you take it, so we can work to get you more replacement medication. Having extra warm clothes and blankets in the house is always key. And then any important documents. The last thing you want to do is leave your house in an emergency and not have key things like identification, health cards, insurance information with you. So knowing where that is and having it ready to go is absolutely essential.
Yeah, how often, just in day-to-day life, where did I put that? Where did I leave that? And you go hunting for it, and now all of a sudden you need to find it in a hurry, and you're scrambling, and you're panicking.
And this ties back to that preparedness piece. We want to be ready ahead of time. That includes things too, extra batteries for flashlights. We know it's very dark in the winter for long periods of time, so making sure you're prepared that way as well, and having that beforehand so you're not scrambling during an emergency, because then you're almost guaranteed to forget or miss something.
What about use of candles? People talk about keeping candles for if you get stuck in the car, candles at home, and you've got animals that maybe knock them over, you've got drapery that lights on fire. You really have to be careful.
You do have to be careful. I grew up in a house where my parents loved scented candles. They were burning everywhere. So you can use candles. Obviously, they can be used safely, but they must be used safely. So use them on a non-flammable surface. Make sure they have some type of protection, like a glass case around them. Make sure they're out of reach of kids or animals. And of course, never leave them unattended. If you're in a room with a candle, when you leave that room, either it comes with you or it gets blown out, because the last thing we need is a house fire. And in the middle of the storm, it might take a while for the fire department to get there. So we really want to make sure the ideal flashlights, batteries, even those crank or wind up ones, you don't have to worry about them going out. But if you are using candles, make sure you're in the room observing them as long as they're being used.
We've touched on a lot of areas here, but if there are others or people want more information, you've got a website full of it.
Simcoe.ca/be prepared. On there, you'll find documentation, resource, checklist for everything, all kinds of different hazards, including winter weather, as well as lists for what you should have in your car, in your house, to make sure you're prepared for whatever may happen.
Worth a look.
Absolutely.
Grant, thanks for dropping by.
Thank you for having me.
Premier Ford was in the neighborhood this week with Labor Minister David Piccini in tow and a fistful of dollars to help pay to train crane operators at a facility in Oro-Medonte. When the speeches were done, Barrie 360's Will Conkin had a chance to speak one-on-one with Piccini about this endeavor and others the province is undertaking in tandem with trade unions in Ontario.
Why are we here today?
We're here today because for the first time in this province's history, Ontario is backing union training halls and helping train a next generation of skilled workers. You heard me say that 1 in 3 journey persons, a very skilled golden generation that built this province, are over the age of 55 and nearing retirement. So it's a moral imperative for us if we're going to build the hospitals, public transit, roads, highways we know we need. Previous governments never built for tomorrow. We want to build for tomorrow. So we got to train the next generation, and that's what we're doing here with a $5 million investment to a new $25 million state-of-the-art training facility for Local 793 right here in Oro-Medonte.
And then why was Oro-Medonte chosen as the spot for this?
Well, I think it's working with leaders like operating engineers. They had the land, they had the site. We've got a fund to get shovels in the ground. And I think, this is a difference. Again, we've all sort of scratched our head wondering, we know we want hospitals. We know we're growing. Guys like you, myself, our next generation want an affordable place to live, but often we forget this stuff doesn't just appear. Hospitals, homes, the arenas, schools. You heard Doug Downey, incredible advocate, say that we're building. You've got to have men and women in the trades. So we've seen a 30% increase in women registration and apprenticeships. We've seen Indigenous peoples registering in record numbers. We're getting more youth into the trades, exposing them at a younger age in high school with mandatory tech classes, and giving them the skill sets to actually build the Ontario we know we all want.
What goes into keeping these relationships going with like local unions within the trades and all that? Maybe just talk about the relationships.
Well, I think it's an important relationship. These workers recognize that under Premier Ford, they're going to continue to collect a paycheck, and a really good one at that. I mean, most jobs in the trades, you're taking home six-figure salaries in your 20s and into your early 30s. And so they recognize our commitment to build. As Premier said, it's creating a climate, a low tax burden environment. All these workers, if you look around here, there's a lot of pickup trucks. They drive to work, they're building Ontario, and they recognize, from cutting the gas tax to working closely with them. I think unlike previous governments, we've built the relationships, and as I said, I can't underscore, we're recognizing that training happens in training institutes like this. We're investing in it, and that's why unions in record numbers are backing this premier in this big blue coalition we're building.
I think everyone can do better and see flaws within themselves.
Yeah.
What can you do that you want to work on to get better?
Well, I think we have still a long way to go in tackling the stigmas associated with the trades, and I can and must do better to get more women into the trades. We've taken important steps with properly fitting PPE, for example, bringing leading standards, as you heard the operating engineers touch on, when it comes to just things like bathrooms on the job sites, keeping our workers safe. But I'm laser focused. I'm not giving up. We've got to get more in the trades. Early data shows our plan is working, but I recognize we have a lot more to do.
That's Ontario Labour Minister David Piccini in conversation with our Will Conkin. The need is great, the recruitment can be difficult, and placement of children and teens in foster care has become more of a challenge. What are the issues? What are the requirements? Barrie 360's Ian McLennan reached out to Simcoe Muskoka Family Connections, and they sent us Lizette Gagne, their manager of foster care.
What is foster care?
Foster care is a temporary safe space for youth, children to be able to live in a quality area while we are working with their family in order to be able to heal the relationships in the family and return children when it is safe to do so.
And what is the age that somebody could actively pursue being involved with foster care? The age of the kids?
The children that come into our care vary from 0 to 18. And 18 doesn't necessarily mean they have to leave. We will keep them safe in a home, going to school. So as long as they're in school or in some kind of trades, then they can actually stay with us till the age of 24. What
is the challenge that you're finding in terms of needing foster parents locally here in Simcoe Muskoka? How challenging is it?
It has become more challenging in the past decade, simply because families are struggling to even make ends meet, having to work 2 jobs, having to parent in the home working in order to be able to maintain their family. So a lot of the economic changes are making it more difficult for families to offer their home and family and home to other children who might need it. However, in our area, and it is across the province, but in Simcoe and Muskoka, what we're finding is people aren't aware of the need. And in order to be able to get them to come forward, we just need to explain that it's not difficult. It is an easy process to offer your home and your family to children who need that time, that temporary time, so they could then work towards returning home.
And when you say temporary, what does temporary mean?
Temporary can mean a couple of months. It could mean up to a year. Our goal is to return children at home to their family as soon as possible. So there's a lot of visits and access and weekends and and overnights, and then we gradually work towards a full reunification. So the idea is that children are meant to return home. They have a mom and dad, and this is who we're going to be working with. And so we want our families who are offering foster care to work with the family as well, and all together as a larger team to return kids back home.
And do you try to keep that young person within their own community, or does it matter?
It certainly matters at a time where it's of uncertainty, when children are being removed for family. It's a loss, it's trauma. And if we're not able to find a home, a foster home in their community, they actually are faced with a move that could be up to 2 to 4 hours away. And now they're outside of their home community, outside of their school, outside of their recreation, their social life, things that are familiar to them. So that's the urgent need, is that every community should have enough foster care to be able to meet the needs of the kids in their home community.
This may throw you, I'm not sure. Are you able to give, on today, for example, how many kids in Simcoe Muskoka are in need of a foster family?
We currently have 40 youth that are outside of our jurisdiction. And that could be, as I said, anywhere between 2 and 4 hours away.
When you say outside of your jurisdiction?
Ottawa, Welland,
who are
Peterborough.
in Simcoe Muskoka, or?
No, they were moved outside of Simcoe and Muskoka and placed out.
In Ottawa.
Correct. So those kids need to come back home. They need to come back to their home community, be closer to their family. We don't want to make children travel 2 hours to go visit their family and keep that connection. Family connection is very important, and that distance certainly doesn't help.
As it says in the name of the agency.
For sure.
So somebody wants to be a foster parent or parents. What are the stages? And if someone says, well, gee, I'd like to do it, but I don't know if I have the commitment. I don't know if I have the budget. What's the role of Family Connections in that situation?
We have a recruiter who will answer all of those questions. Basically, we require that every child or youth deserves their own bedroom space, so there's no sharing. And the family is provided with financial support. It's not a job, but it is financial support to care for children, resources, training, and there's a process of getting them through. So sharing your life, your own challenges, because what made you who you are today is because of all of those challenges that you've faced and you've overcome. And those are skills that we want our kids to be exposed to. So your life lessons can help another youth and child with their life lessons.
Is it a mentorship in some ways?
It very much is. You know, they already have a mom and dad. We're not looking for moms and dads. We're looking for mentors and coaches and cheerleaders. You know, they need an advocate to be able to speak on their behalf and help them through their own struggles.
And your agency is there to assist in any way? If there's no disconnect in terms of...
No, definitely not. Yeah, we're there 24 hours, 7 days a week. Every child has their own worker. Every foster family has their own worker. Everybody's voice is heard. The family have their own worker as well. So it might make for a lot of people, but really what this is a large team approach, and that everybody works towards meeting the needs of the kids that are in care and meeting the family's needs as well.
From the dollars and cents, does it depend on that individual or individual's income, how much support they will get financially to look after this young person, or how does that turn determined?
Those who are interested in fostering would need to be financially secure themselves. This is the financial support is only when the child is placed in your home. So when there are no children in your home, you still need to be able to live your day-to-day. So if you're already comfortable living within your means, then this is just added on so that you can support the kids in your home.
If there's any activities or extra expenses, that can be determined if the foster parent wants to take them to a baseball game, or it just...
They could take them to all sorts of family activities. We want them to be exposed to community events, family gatherings. A lot of the children tend to feel part of that extra family, and that family also take in the children and youth and make them their own as well. So it's very rewarding for not only the immediate family but the extended family to be able to help and provide that extra support.
Is there an age that is sort of easy to, though your organization's challenged right now, to place somebody as opposed to, is it maybe older that you have more challenges in that teenage years?
Certainly the teenagers are 10 to 18 years old are more difficult. Foster families will come forward and want to take care of the little ones, which is fun. I totally understand that. There's a bit more of a challenge for our older youth because of addictions, mental health, behaviors, and really difficult feelings to work through. And so for those who want that type of challenge or are able to face that kind of challenge, we really do encourage them to come forward to be able to care for the teens.
What's the process be taking as for a individual or family that's interested in being a foster parent from making the step and then a young person comes into their lives? How long does the process go on for?
I usually tell people it takes about 6 to 8 months to get through the process. There's a lot of documentation initially, and we then go through, there's a 9-week training, and there's an assessment of the home and of the family members. So it takes a bit of time. We really take our time to get to know the family, get to know every individual in the family home and how they run so that we can make the best choices in matching what their skill set is for a youth who needs that.
Are there any boundaries in terms of, because they're not family, but they fit into the family unit, I would imagine, in terms of events and maybe functions that go on. So is there a fine line? Because I can imagine sometimes you become attached to the young person may become attached to the family and family to the young person too. So that must be a challenge, maybe even when it ends, like a good thing, but hard to do.
That's where the reward is.
Yeah.
It's bittersweet. You're very happy to be able to see them going back home, reunification with their family. That connection has been made stronger, and you're happy for that. But you're also sad to see that connection end for you. Some of the families will continue to stay in touch, but the majority are saying farewell, good luck, all the best, with all my love, and this is where you belong with your family. Should the children have to at times come back, then we'll make sure that they come back to the same family that they're used to, because of that connection was important.
And anyone interested can go to the Simcoe Muskoka Family Connections website.
Our website, as well as we have fosterconnections.ca, will bring you directly to our webpage that gives you the description of completing our inquiry and gives you also the step-by-step of what I've just explained to get to an approval home.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie and Simcoe County have to offer and more. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, big doings next week at the Barrie Curling Club. We get the gist from former Canadian and world champion Glenn Howard, and the Barrie Colts have found their way to second place in the OHL Central Division. We get our regular weekly update. Now this.
Our community rocks.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Barrie's Rock Station, Rock 95.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. Big event next week at the Barrie Curling Club, the Everest Funeral Concierge Canadian Curling Club Championships. If you've never curled or wondered why anyone would want to, our colleague at 107.5 Cool FM, Millsy, gets a pep talk from someone who may know a thing or two about curling, Glenn Howard.
4 World Championships, 4 Briers, 14 Grand Slam titles. That is quite the legendary career.
Well, thank you very much. Great to be here, Millsy. I've been blessed. I've been blessed with a pretty cool career. As you know, I love the game of curling. It's a big part of my life, and was blessed with some great championships and some of the most amazing curlers that ever played a game. I was blessed to curl with them. It takes a village to win, and on the same token, it's been such a big part of my life. I've loved every minute of it.
The Everest Funeral Concierge Canadian Curling Championship is coming to the Barrie Curling Club this year, November 18th to the 24th.
Yes.
Can you tell us what this event is all about?
Well, first of all, it's such a cool concept. There's going to be about 28 teams, 14 men, 14 women from provinces and territories and curling associations, obviously all through our country. There's going to be varying ages from people in their 20s up to their 60s. There's to the tune of about 124 athletes and coaches from across Canada. But I think that the biggest part of this event, it's all about showcasing grassroots curlers in Canada. So it gives so many of the curlers an opportunity to live out their dream and to compete at a national championship, to represent their province and territory. Pretty much most of them, I would assume, will never have had this opportunity. I would say it's almost like the best of the rest. People that haven't, great curlers that haven't maybe made it to a national level. And this gives them the opportunity to play in an absolutely incredible event. The other bonus is the winning teams, men and women, get to play in the International Everest event, featuring the club winners, of course, all from the USA. So they get to play against the USA, so it becomes an international flavor. So absolutely an incredible event, which I'm super looking forward to seeing, and I think people are really going to enjoy it.
That is really cool. I didn't know that there was the whole international aspect of it afterwards. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we do say that the event has some of the best non-professional curlers from across the country. Can you give us a look at what it takes teams to actually get to this point?
So, yeah, I think what happens is, like, for example, our my local club up here in Penetanguishene just had a playdown of about 12 teams, I think, on the men and women's side to play down to get out of your club, like a regional, and then you go to a provincial, and then you have to win your provincial, and then when you win your provincial, then you're able to get to the Everest Championship in Barrie. So it's like a ladder process. You don't just phone in and sign up and get there. You have to play down, and there's hundreds of teams across our country that are doing this as we speak to get to this point in Barrie to play into the national championships.
Now, I've been curling for years, so I would love to get the opportunity to play in a tournament like this, but unfortunately, just not quite at the skill level that you need to be at to get into something like this. It does sound super fun, though.
Well, this is it, and then, what's really cool about it, it's being hosted, as you know, by the Barrie Curling Club and Tourism Barrie. It's co-chaired by Tony and Jennifer Marcus. It's such an amazing. It's a huge event. It's really very similar to a Scotties national championship for women or a Briar for the men. Obviously, on a little bit smaller scale, but they got like 125 volunteers. It's going to be televised, which is going to be super cool. You've got TSN Plus will be streaming 21 of the games. So if people can't get out to watch it live, they're going to be able to watch the stream or watch it via streaming. The game starts Monday the 18th at 6:30 p.m. There's going to be 3 draws a day from Tuesday to Saturday with the semis and the finals on the Sunday. They've raised a ton of money through generous sponsors, and because of that, there's not going to be any admission fee, so people can come out and watch. What they're hoping for, though, they've come up with a charity of choice being the Barrie Food Bank. And if, in lieu of the admission, if people would want to bring a non-perishable good or cash to donate to the Barrie Food Bank, would be very much appreciated. They've even done a ton of fundraising, and they're going to do that via silent auction, a 50-50. People could check this out via the website at barriecurling.com. They've even gone as far as coming up with a bunch of entertainment. On Saturday, November the 23rd, our local artist, Dylan Locke. If you have never heard Dylan play, he is absolutely fantastic. He's a local guy, and he's going to be doing that at the Barrie Curling Club. They've even done, they've got a player experience for all the players, out-of-town players. They've got tours for the players and their families to go around and look at Barrie landmarks and businesses. And amazing for the Barrie area. They figure it's going to be about a $1 million economic impact for the Barrie and surrounding areas. So this isn't small potatoes. This is a really cool event. Barrie's excited about it. The other really cool thing that they've done to have like a great on ice experience for the fan, they've turned the number one sheet in the curling club into what they call an ice bar. and all the patrons can go, or all the fans can go out there. They can watch the curling on ice as you're having a couple of bevies and a little bit of finger food. So what a cool, it's going to be an absolutely cool event. I think Barrie's excited about it. They've done a bang-up job, and they just can't wait to get started.
So that's crazy to hear that, like, A, they're going to be playing in front of that many people, and B, that it's going to be televised. Like, this is a dream for a lot of the players that are going to be playing in this tournament. And now you're no stranger to major competitions and being on TV and having a lot of people watch you. So if you could give some advice to the competing teams so that, you know, their nerves just don't kind of take over and they get really nervous, what would that bit of advice be?
Well, it's a great question, Millsy, and I to be honest with you, I can't remember the first time I was on TV, but I remember it did affect me a little bit in the fact that, wow, there's a lot more people watching than are here in the stands and whatever. And even with the streaming, there is going to be thousands of people watch, which is really cool. Bottom line is, the best advice is just focus on your shots. It even comes back to, when I curl competitively, when I was playing at my high level, if you had any sort of distraction, it was a problem. So you tell your players, just go out and do the best you can to make your shot. It's just a curling shot. If nothing changes, if anybody's watching, it doesn't really matter. Do your best. Try and make that curling shot. Don't think about anything else. And the old proverbial saying, one shot at a time. Just go out and make one shot at a time. And I honestly think these players are going to have a blast.
One thing that I've been dying to ask you specifically for years, the 2009 Tim Hortons Brier. You're trailing Saskatchewan by 2 points.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up to your final stone. And you call in-off double that ended up scoring 3 points to win the game on your last shot and remain undefeated. It was one of the greatest curling shots I've ever seen. What was going through your mind when you were lining up to make that shot?
We actually didn't play very well that game. We probably didn't deserve to win the game. Joel Jordison from Saskatchewan, they controlled the whole game. They were 2 up without last rock going to the last end. And the end wasn't performing that great in our minds. And when Joel went to throw his last rock, he guarded what we thought was our only chance for a 2 to even tie the game and get into it. And there was kind of rocks everywhere. And then both Richard Hart and I looked at Richard and I said, he's my third, and I said, Rich, there's got to be something here. And literally at the same time, but both of us looked and said, you know what? If we hit this rock here, our own rock, and we stuff our shooter on the side here, that rock's going to go over there, and it might kind of ricochet around and get their other shot rock out, and it might work. And the problem is, Mills, you don't know. You got to hit. You throw the rock, you try to hit it in a certain spot, and then hope everything kind of comes out to plan. And lo and behold, we hit it where we wanted. I had to stick my shooter, and I did that. And then the rock went over to kind of run around the horn, took their rock out, and we sat 3. And we were all kind of in disbelief. All 8 curlers, the Saskatchewan guys were shocked as well. And super cool because we thought it was there, but we weren't sure. And, angles with the way the rocks come off each other, it's not always perfect and not what you always expected. But lo and behold, it came through, and I think it was pretty cool. I don't know whether you ever saw a video. I was jumping around like a kid in a candy store, so super ecstatic to win the game. And like you said, that put us, I think, it was something like 6-0. And then we were kind of cruising really well in that Brier after that. Super fun.
Well, Glenn, thank you so much for joining me today. The Everest Funeral Concierge Canadian Curling Championship going to be happening at Barrie Curling Club November 18th to 24th. You should come check it out, meet Glenn, learn a bit about this beautiful game that we call curling. It's wonderful. And is there anything else that you'd like to add, Glenn?
Just the opening ceremonies is another really cool tradition of curling. This year at the Barrie Curling Club, they're going to have the local Special Olympian curlers will be the flag bearers marching out all 28 teams, and the Special Olympics bronze medal team from the curling club will be throwing out the traditional first rock, which is a tradition in curling. That's going to be super cool. And I like you just said, Mildy, I hope everybody listening, if you have any interest in the game, come on out. Come on to the curling club. You'll really enjoy it. The curling club is set up to have a welcome experience. You're going to see some great curling. If you can't, tune into TSN for the streamings. I think you'll really enjoy this event. It's going to be super cool.
Thank you so much, Glenn. I hope to see you there.
Sounds great. Thanks, Mildy. Cheers. Great for having me.
A pair of wins for the Barrie Colts last weekend over arch-rivals Sudbury, allowing the Colts to leapfrog the Wolves into second place in the Central Division. Here again with our weekly Colts review is Barrie 360's Will Conkin and Colts writer and broadcaster Gene Pereira.
Gene, the boys done well this weekend. They picked up wins in their home and home with the Wolves, 3-2 overtime win in Sudbury with Kachon Aitchison netting the winner in that one. Then a big 8-1 victory for the Colts in front of the Saddling crowd on Saturday. We talked last week about the alleged bounty by the Wolves put on Aitchison, kind of fitting that he got the winner and scored in Saturday's game too. But talk about that game in Sudbury first.
Yeah, you can really see with the celebration on his winner that it meant a lot to Kachon. And, you know, it was a game where Barrie jumped out 2-0. They kind of outplayed Sudbury in the first 30 minutes of the game, but I thought the Wolves came back. They tied it 2-2, and they kind of carried that second half of that contest with hitting a post and a crossbar in the third period. But Barrie managed to get it into overtime, and then, you know, what really I thought was a goal by elite players that, you know, it really makes a big difference when you got that kind of skill. And that's what came up with the winner, where Jelsma, you know, forced a turnover at the blue line, you know, got it up to Patterson, and then he made a nice kind of almost no-look behind pass across the slot to Aitchison, who was charging in, and he just wired a beautiful shot in for the overtime winner. And, you know, Kachon was kind of ducking in a bit. He didn't really want to talk about it and add to all what's gone on with the bounty last year. But you could tell he was certainly meant a lot to him. But it was a big win for Barrie. You know, just they've gone through some sickness and some players missing, but you know, it's one of those games where they owned the first half. You know, and as the game went on, Sudbury kind of took over a bit, but again, they found a way to pull out the win.
As for the second battle, Grayson Tiller notched a hat trick. Gene, did that come out of nowhere? Did you see that coming?
I didn't see it coming. I think Grayson, obviously, you know, he's more of a defensive defenseman, but, you know, we've seen that from his game this year. He's taken a few more offensive chances, jumping into the rush, you know, creating offense. And, you know, again, you know, you could tell by the smile on his face, he kind of gave that wirely look after his third goal. You could tell he was pretty happy about it. And, you know, it's just great to see a guy like him that, you know, really, last season, I thought he really turned a big corner. He kind of goes unheralded there, just kind of doesn't get the you know, the attention that, you know, his play deserves, that he's become an important part on the blue line back there, and just to see him add some offense and a hat trick was nice to see.
Also a big night for Colts captain Bo Jelsma, netted his 100th OHL career goal. Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, you know, just typical Bo, you know, and, you know, he started a program this year with a player, not a program, but he brought in some strawberry jam packets, and he said, you know, that's what he wants to see the guys play with. They want to play with jam, and you know, it's kind of fitting that his 100th goal, he ended up being in front of the net and kind of jamming it past the goaltender. So, you know, Bo's certainly playing with some jam there, but you know, look, this guy is just like the Energizer Bunny. He just never stops, and you know, he truly is the leader on this team, and you know, to see him hit that milestone is special. After starting the year injured, you know, he just takes this team to a different level, and it's no surprise that he's off to a good start.
I feel like every week we touch on injuries. Gardner missed both games. Supposedly it was food poisoning, and Bo Akey was sick, but played both nights. And Wakely returned Saturday. And you were also saying that Nolan Newton left the team. I don't know where you want to start first, but touch on these injuries and who's in and who's out.
Well, Wakely had an ankle injury, and there's some question if he'd be out for a while, but he missed Friday's game, but he came back Saturday, and, you know, he looked pretty solid. He got a goal in that game, and obviously that was big for the Colts to have him back in the lineup. Brad Gardner, from what I understand, was food poisoning. He actually had to go to the hospital. He went back home, but the Colts decided that Friday, Saturday, he missed the weekend. There's hopes that he's going to return, this week. And obviously with Bo Akey, I mean, you talk about Warriors, and Marty Williamson pointed that out, that he was feeling under the weather, and they were kind of short. And he played that Friday game, and right back the next night he's back on the ice. Really effective in that Saturday game as well, and playing certainly under the weather, less than 100%. But Akey kind of managed to grind it out for both games.
Did you want to touch on Nolan Newton as well and his situation?
Yeah, Nolan Newton, it's the second year in a row he's returned back to the Greater Sudbury Cubs, and he got a concussion there, and he missed a couple of weeks, and I think there was hope that he was ready to come back into the lineup, but he's decided to go back to Sudbury, to home, and it's too bad. I thought he was really starting to come around at the OHL level. I thought he was really effective. He had gotten some power play time, and again, it's a situation. This is an older Barrie team, obviously, with the Wakeleys, the Jelsmas, and Pattersons, and the power play time wasn't going to be there. But obviously, we wish Nolan well, but it's too bad, because I really thought his game was coming around at the OHL level.
Did the Colts build on momentum from that first game and take it into the second one? And also, they've won 8 of their last 10 games. Maybe break that down a little bit.
Yeah, we're starting to see this team get in a roll, and it's funny. I talked to Marty Williamson, and he still really hasn't had a full lineup. There's always kind of someone missing, and he thinks that they can be even better. And I mean, 8 out of 10 obviously is a pretty good run, and you see that they're getting stronger. And I think I think the confidence was always there in the lineup, but they acquired Dylan Wakely, and this is a really deep team, and their blue line's outstanding, and that's something that Marty Williamson wanted to see. He wants to see them, put together these win streaks, these better runs through 10-game packages, and he's certainly getting that from his hockey club. But I talked to Marty, and he says there's still more. He feels there's still more with this team, that they can be even better. But first and foremost, they got to get healthy.
Up next for the Colts, we are recording this early, so they have already played the Brantford Bulldogs Wednesday night. Hopefully that's a win. But another game against the Brampton Steelheads Friday, and Saturday they host Oshawa. A tough week for the Colts. Is this another measuring stick moment for them, Gene?
Oh, for sure. I mean, these three teams, really, when coming into the year, they were expected to be right there at the top of the Eastern Conference standings. The Brampton Steelheads have been going through a bit of a tough run here late, but it's a great hockey team led by Porter Martone, who's actually got a 1-game suspension. So I think he's going to miss that contest on Friday, which will be big for Barrie. But obviously, they're going to face a Steelheads team here that's coming off a couple of losses and is going to be a good mood. And then Saturday, they face a Generals team that I think, like Barrie, missed some guys early, and now they're starting to get them back. Kellen Ritchie returned from Colorado. Colby Barlow had a bit of a slow start, but he's been playing some great hockey of late. And Beckett Seneca has just been outstanding as well. He's been on fire. So I mean, these are 3 big tests for the Barrie Colts coming into this week. And again, I mean, that's who you want to measure yourself up against, and that's who's ahead for Barrie.
You also wanted to touch on Parker Vaughan at the World Under-17s and his play in the tournament. Talk about that, Gene.
Yeah, the Colts' first-round pick, 5th overall in the OHL draft this year, headed out to the Under-17s World Challenge in Sarnia, and he helped lead a Canada Red team to the gold medal game there. He had a goal and assist against the Americans in the semifinal. And unfortunately, they didn't end up winning the gold medal game. Parker Vaughan also had a head-checking penalty that he left the game. But a real effective tournament for the young forward. And, he had 3 points in 2 games before he left, with the Barrie Colts. He's going to be a guy that I think we're going to see a little bit more from. You see him growing more and more confidence each and every game. And these world tournaments are usually a boost for these young players playing with their top peers. And now he'll return, I think, with some confidence. And, that's certainly going to be good news for the Barrie Colts.
Thanks for the insight, as always, Gene.
Thanks, Will.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian, Will, and Millsy for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.